You're obliged to pretend respect for people and institutions you think absurd. You live attached in a cowardly fashion to moral and social conventions you despise, condemn, and know lack all foundation. It is that permanent contradiction between your ideas and desires and all the dead formalities and vain pretenses of your civilization which makes you sad, troubled, and unbalanced. In that intolerable conflict, you lose all joy of life and all feeling of personality, because at every moment they suppress and restrain and check the free play of your powers. And that is the poisoned and mortal wound of the civilized world. What is this shift that is happening in the world today? I've found that most people want the freedom to be able to go down the shop and buy their food. They want the freedom to be able to buy a house somewhere. They want the freedom to work at whatever job they wish to work at. Freedom to marry who they please, drive whatever car they would like to drive, and to run whatever business they would like to run. And they're prepared to pay whatever costs are incurred by doing all of these things. But of course, all of these things also include the freedom to pay taxes, the freedom to do what you're told, and the freedom to walk between the lines and follow whatever rules the politicians give you to follow. I mean, why do you have to buy a house? Why shouldn't you be given a house simply because you're alive? Why do you have to pay to be alive? If you wish to marry someone, why do you need to purchase a marriage license and get the government involved and turn it into a three-way contract? Isn't it between you and the person you love? If so, why do you need to get the government involved? Well, that's right, it's because of the economic value that's attached to your love, to your wedding, and it's information you may need in the settlement should you ever get divorced, because you need to look at all the economics of the whole thing. But really, what does economics have to do with love? And if you're going to place conditions on the person that you're marrying and you wish to create a prenuptial agreement and all of this sort of stuff, well, do you really love the person? Or is your marriage simply a matter of economics? But that's what freedom is to people. It's freedom to conduct their life in an economic manner. Freedom to purchase what they want to purchase. Freedom to be enslaved to a corporate system. And what it also means for many people is the freedom to point and complain about all these control mechanisms while demanding their freedom. But really, what freedom is it that they're wanting? What is this freedom for most people? Because most people don't actually want to be free. Most people simply want to complain about not being free, but they don't actually want to be free, because freedom is 100% self-responsibility. That's what freedom is. It certainly isn't anything else. I mean, it isn't freedom of choice. Freedom of choice is part of freedom, but freedom of choice is not freedom. Freedom is 100% liability for all your actions, everything you say and do. That's what true freedom is. True freedom is owning yourself and being responsible for that. And what I've found is that most people, even those who complain the loudest about not being free, and in fact especially those who complain the loudest about not being free, are absolutely terrified of true freedom. Technology isn't freedom. I'd like to be free enough to not have to log onto the computer every day and go on the air every week gently asking people to wake up before we head into a nightmare transhumanist world where all freedom is lost. I much prefer not to have to do that, and so I personally can't wait until people wake up to the fact that they actually are free, should they choose to be so. It's time for us all to get together. We've got to stop fighting amongst ourselves. We've got to stop looking for the one perfect remedy that's going to be given to us on a silver platter. We've got to start thinking about ourselves, realize that remedy starts at home. It starts in your own heart. No one can come and fix your life for you. No one can offer you a system that's going to work, because it's a control system, whatever it is. If it's a system, then it's a control system. And we don't need a control system. What we need is to always operate from our hearts in all that we do, to live in a state of service for creation, but also putting ourselves on an equal par with everybody else. Don't give too much credit to people around you who claim to be your controllers, because ultimately they're no different to you. And don't give the system too much credit. Don't perceive that it is this all-empowering thing that can come and devour you, because just that belief will make it so. And once people gain that understanding alone, it's an incredibly empowering understanding. We're seeing a time in history when mankind remembers who and what we are. When we remember our connection to the planet, when we begin to understand and remember our connection to all reality and to all creation, and we begin to remember the power that we have to bring about positive change. So my question is, do you feel free now? And if you don't, then what will it take to make you feel free? And if you ever are free, what will you do with that freedom?